Hello and welcome back. Today we are up north again and we are going to do guess what I'll call a midsummer's review of the robotic lawnmower we have up here. We have a Mammotion Luba 2 up here, and I think it's about time to switch the blades around on it. I've been running with the blades running in the same direction, so it's the same cutting edge it's been hitting the whole time. I think today I'm going to take the discs off of it and flip them around so that the other side of the blades will hit. It's about that time. It's the middle of summer here, or maybe even coming to the end of summer, middle of August. And so we can kind of do a review of it kind of at the same time while we're taking the blades and stuff off of it. The first thing I want to mention is you can see here where it's kind of making this circle pattern here. I guess you'd call it people call it a donut hole or a donut. That's kind of where it lines itself up every time, where it seems to back into the charger. And so you can tell where it's starting to wear down the grass here. So if I didn't have really good grass, it could really tear it up, which I've got pretty good grass up here. But I don't know if there's really any way to avoid this. Like every time it comes back to this exact same spot. It tends to turn around a little bit before it backs itself in to figure out where it is. So that's one thing that happens with it. I've noticed throughout the season. I've seen people where they've got like a bare spot here where it's just so bad. And they used to even do what they called tank turns, where like it would, everywhere it went, it would make a take turn, and sometimes it would make a take turn in the middle of the yard for no reason. They seem to have fixed that with software updates. They've been updating the software quite a bit on it, and that seems to have gone away. So it seems like there's no more what they were calling take turns going on. The other thing that I've noticed is, it doesn't get very close to the edge. So you can see where I've got tall grass growing up here along where the edge of it is, which is, good or bad. Good because it doesn't get stuck. It could hit the deck or something and get stuck. The bad is you really got to get out here and weed eat or something to get rid of that tall grass around the areas where it doesn't get. So it's not like a foolproof solution. Like it's not going to it does mow your lawn, but you still got to get out here and weed eat to get rid of some of that tall grass around it. Up here in the country, I'm not as concerned about it. Nobody's complaining about the tall grass around my deck. So I'll probably just spray some weed killer on it. Maybe I'll get the weed eater out. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But let's get the Luba out and let's flip it over and let's take a look at it. I'm going to use the tool here that came with it. This is I believe it's a 2.5 millimeter hex bolt. Some people say use a Torx 10, which I do not recommend. Don't use a Torx 10. You'll strip out your bolts. It is a 2.5 millimeter, and I'm going to actually use the tool that came with it. So I'm for sure this should fit the bolts that are on it. So I'm going to go ahead and push the power button on it to turn it off. Let it power down, and then I'm going to set it up here in the back of the side-by-side to work on it. I'm going to try and set it up in here where the camera on the front is not being bugged too much. I've got a bunch of other wood and stuff in here that I've got some other projects going on. But I'm just trying to flip it up over here and have it where sounds like it just started itself back up. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to turn yourself off. Let's try that again. Alright, let's see if that does it this time. So, like I was saying, I'll flip it up over here, try not to hit that camera on top of it so it can sit there. Not sure if it turned itself off that time. Seems like it may have actually did it. I didn't hear it start back up. Nope, now it started itself back up again. That's interesting. Well, I'm going to pull it out. I don't know why it keeps turning itself back on. So what I'm doing is I'm holding the power button here. Power off. It turns it off. Seems like it keeps starting itself back up though. I'm going to go ahead and pull the orange key out the back of it. That way the blades won't come back off. I guess it was starting itself back up because it was connected to the charging station. So I'm guessing that just kept telling it to start itself back on. So now it's not starting itself back up at all. All right, now let's see if we can get it up here in the back of the side-by-side. I don't know how much this weighs. I think it was around 40 pounds is what I've heard. So it's a little heavy. Not too heavy though. So I'm just going to try and set it in here like I said. And kind of angle it over where that the camera's not kind of being touched by anything. So I kind of leveraged the camera underneath it there. You can see it's pretty dirty underneath it. I haven't been up here in 2 weeks. Been a little under the weather, and it's got quite a bit of buildup on it. You can see which way the blades are hitting right now. You can see the clean side on them. So I'm going to flip those discs around so that I'm going to basically move. You can see right there with the blades. I'm basically going to move this disc over here and put this disc over here. So when I move this disc here, this will be the side hitting next, and that'll be the side hitting on this side. So we're going to flip them around, but we'll take them off, see how they look underneath those discs as well. So I got some gloves on because I don't want to cut myself on those blades. It's really, really wet. Grass in here. Well, let's just take off the blades first and see how it goes. These screws are on here pretty tight. And they get a lot of Loctite on them too, so that helps. You don't want the screws falling out in the grass while it's running. So just 3 screws. I'm kind of holding the disc with my hand while I'm turning the screw out. If I don't, then the disc itself will turn. It's got a little bit of water pulling there from what I just did. I'm going to dump that out. So this is what the disc looks like on them. Like I said, I haven't been up here in 2 weeks to clean these things out. So they got quite a bit of grass underneath them. We will clean all that out. Here's the underside of it. Doesn't look that bad. A little bit of grass up there, but yeah, we'll get these cleaned off completely, and then we will put it on the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and set this one on this side, so I know this one I want to put over here next. Here's kind of what it looks like underneath. Doesn't look that bad. I think you can get these motors to come out even, but I'm going to take this other plate off of here as well, which I think is held on by, I believe, these 3 screws right here. You can barely see them, but those 3 screws in this plate will come off as well, I believe. Which I'm thinking maybe I should see if I can pull it off too. See what it looks like underneath there. It's so wet because I've been probably mowing too early in the morning, so you can see how it's got all this wet grass on it, which comes off pretty easily. So I'll get the rest of that off of there. Yeah, I think it's just those 3 bolts there that hold this plate on here. And then we can see maybe how the motor's doing underneath it. Well, this doesn't look really that bad. I mean, grass is bound up on both sides of it. When that happens, I know that I can tell that the cutting is just not as good when you get this grass buildup in here. And I know people have complained about these brackets, the way they're built and how it catches grass in there. But they also serve a function of, blocking things from hitting those blades. So I guess you got to take the bad with the good. Maybe there's a better design. I don't know. So it's just held on here by these 3 screws, I believe. One there. And all these screws that I'm taking out of here, whether it be the ones that were holding the blades or the ones holding this on, they're all the same. So you don't have to really worry about them getting mixed up. So that one, we got one more. one was on there tight. And with that, the whole piece comes off of there. So there you can see now underneath here where the blade is, and it's dry under here, which is good. It's really kept that really dry, which is good, which is keeping that motor protected. So I'm kind of excited about that. That's pretty good. I'm glad that it's that dry in there. And it looks like the plastic covering here is, or rubber covering is still in place, which is good. I might take the air compressor to this and blow it out too. See if I can blow it out with the air compressor as well. But with that out of there, it's a lot easier to get in here and clean all this out actually. There's the plate itself. I'll be able to clean that out too. You can see underneath it where all this grass is bound up. But it's dry. It's not wet like the rest of it, so that's good. I'm glad it's keeping that grass dry rather than getting moisture into the motor. Well, that's cool. I'm glad about that. All right, I'm going to go do the same thing on the other side. I won't make you guys watch that, and I'll clean the rest of this out of here. And then we will put it back together. All right, there's what it looks like with the second one off. I've kind of cleaned it up. It was pretty dry underneath this one as well, which was nice to see. So it's keeping those motors nice and dry, which is good. Got the brackets over here. I'm going to go ahead and spray those off with the water hose and spray off all the gunk I can off of them. It says not to spray the deck. And I thought there was a symbol on here somewhere that even shows you, like, you know, don't spray this deck, because you don't want to get water penetrating around these motors, which is, again, why I'm glad to see that they're dry. I think I might take the air compressor, though, to it and spray it all out with the air compressor. I mean, you could obviously take a rag and scrub this out, too. I might end up doing that, take a rag to it and kind of rub it all down. Maybe I'll do that first, the rag. That might even be better than using air compressor on it. It's still pretty wet out here right now. I'm really early in the morning, so even the dew is still on the ground. My plan is to get this done so that I can mow the grass today. You can even see the lines that way. I've got lines that way. I think today I'm going to mow it back and forth. I went ahead and wiped it down with the rag, and there's the symbol I was talking about. It was covered up with gunk. It says not to spray it with water. I think that's good enough. We will get those cleaned off now and get them put back on. And I'll put the blades back on the opposite directions they were. And I'll make sure that all the gunk is out from underneath them. I've already cleaned this one out, so it turns freely now. So these go back on the same way they came off. That one will go right there. The other one will go right here. And then the blades will go on both of those. I flipped the two discs around, so now when this spins, it'll be hitting the other side of the blade. I think it's going to be spinning this way now. Both will be spinning that way, I think. But I switched the two discs on either side, so, and I kept track on which side they were on because I didn't want to make the mistake of putting it back on the same way it was. So there's the two guards back on there. I put the 3 bolts on both sides there, and then all I got to do is put the blades back on it, and we're back in business. So there's both of the blades back on here. They both spin freely. Blades all looking good. It's all cleaned up on the deck now. We will put it back on the charger. I'll put the key back in it, put it back on the charger, and we'll be ready to go for the rest of the season, I think. It's doing an excellent job mowing the grass. It's kind of I would say it's definitely met my expectations, maybe even beat them a little bit. I thought I would have probably more problems with it than I have. I know it's new technology, so I know it wasn't going to be perfect, so maybe I was expecting a little bit even more problems, but it's been actually doing a really, really good job. You know, some of the problems, like I said, is it's got this donut here that's going to create. It doesn't hit the sides. You got to weed eat, obviously. Other than that, though, man, it's saving me tons of time. I wasn't even up here last weekend. I was a little bit under the weather and wasn't able to come up here, and so the lawnmower mowed the grass while I was gone, and so it's kept it down, kept it nice. I've got some other things I got to get done up here today, and so I'll let it mow the grass while I'm doing some other stuff. If it dries out a little bit, it's still kind of wet right now, so I'm gonna let it dry out a little bit more. I say that's the other thing that I probably have been doing that's not been the best is I've been mowing the grass pretty early in the morning, or at least I've been telling it to mow the grass pretty early in the morning. I'm up in Minneapolis and I tell it to, hey, go mow the grass, and it goes out and does it. I've been doing that probably around 8 or 9, and it's probably a little still too wet when I do that. That's why that grass is probably built up on it like it was. So I think I'll have to start mowing around maybe around 10 o'clock instead. That'll make probably a big difference on the grass collecting on the bottom of it. Otherwise, I'm super happy with it, guys. The bottom of it looks pretty clean. I'm very happy that there was not really any moisture underneath there where those motors are at. Don't want any water getting inside of there. And I just cleaned it up just with my hand and a rag. So I just, you know, a little bit of elbow grease goes a long ways. And like I said, we're ready to go again. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, give me some comments, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'd love to have you, and we will see you guys on the next one.